Sportsman.
Hello, sportsmen. Hey, I hope you all had a really good, safe, happy, fun Christmas. And of course, we have one more holiday left in the year coming up in just a little less than a week. Hope that's a safe one too. In the meantime, we're going to use this program to look back on 1996. What a year it was. We did some goofy things, some fun things. Stay tuned and we'll check them out. I'm Fred Trost and you're watching The Practical Sportsman.
Fred Trost's Practical Sportsman is brought to you by D.L. Kessler & Sons Construction, specializing in residential development and commercial construction since 1977, and by the financial support of viewers like you.
Oh boy, here we are, the first ice fishing trip of the year. In fact, of the season for me. Now, ice fishing isn't a big deal at all. It is the most practical, most resourceful, most economical way there is to fish. In fact, I'll show you why. Starting right here, we have the ice fishing equipment. That's all you need. Ice fishing is also extremely economical. A spud, a skimmer, an ice fishing rod, some little hooks and lures will run you, maybe 20 bucks. A dozen wax worms might cost $1 or so, and that'll get you started for panfish. Recreation just doesn't come any more economical than this.
Just in case we may want to remodel our ice fishing sled in the future, we're going to be using some wood screws to hold it together. Nails just make it a little too hard if you want to take it apart. But let me give you a quick tip. If you're going to use a screw, you're going to want to pre-drill your holes first, because let me show you what happens if you don't. Well, that split that pretty good. One way to prevent that is if you take your drill and drill a pilot hole. Make sure you go all the way through, and the drill bit should be a little smaller than the screw itself. That's going to prevent it from splitting out on you.
Here we go. Up, gentlemen.
There, see it? See that? See it moving, John? Watch. See that bobber go?
I will be vindicated. That was
Yeah.
a big one, too.
It's still here. I've got it on. All right. Oh! How about that?
Not bad.
How about that? What do you mean not giant? I
had
just
to hook it for you.
Just cut out this non-giant stuff. We fished this lake a week ago. This is a public lake in Washtenaw County that produces some pretty dandy bluegills. Last week we started in the afternoon. The gills didn't hit till 45 minutes before dark. Now this time we got there just after sunrise, figuring that we'd pick up some bluegills during the day. Now we were looking for 10 inchers, which Lee Thomas from Gregory says he catches fairly regularly. What do you got?
He's a 9-incher.
Oh yeah?
Almost. 8.5.
All right.
All right.
Hey, that's what we like to see.
I just put it in. I just put some bait on it.
We got 3 that say hit. You hold the microphone. Sure. Okay. Oh, I like this.
Feel anything?
Yes. Yes. Uh-oh.
What?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It came off.
You're kidding me.
It came off.
Free dinner.
See, I knew we shouldn't have hit him so soon. Oh, well.
Hindsight's better than...
Yeah, what are you going to say? Today, the lunch buffet was an extraordinary treat. Greg Houle, the chef at Walden Woods, brought a chafing dish out on the ice which contained a hot venison stew served over maple syrup cornbread. If that wasn't enough, Charlie Keenan brought venison sauerbraten with special potato cakes warmed in a Chinese steamer. Well, that's just hash browns, Charlie.
Oh no, that's latkes with apples in it. And there's the sauerbraten over the top. Mmm.
Yeah, not
Yes. You want to grab?
Whoa! Well, he's taking a run. This is
Set that down.
This actually calls for taking the mittens off. I hate to say. I thought it was going to be a cake deal.
Keep that line going out this way, and that way if he wants to run, you can just feed it right back to him.
Oh, it's a pike.
No small one, no gaff.
Here we come. Oh, there we go. Man, that's the second fish in this hole. This is a hot hole. I don't know, crappie are coming through.
And it is a small crappie.
It's a crappie. All right. Now, this is what we got here this morning at daylight for, and it's only taken all day. You're looking at Lake Mitchell in the foreground. Behind it in the upper right is Lake Cadillac, with the town of Cadillac nestled in the forest of northern Michigan. Now, our fishing camp is on the ice on the western side of Lake Mitchell. Our guides are Steve Kneisel from Pilgrim's Village and Buzz Smith, who's as good an ice fisherman as you'll find anywhere.
Oh, he's a good one. He's a real good one. Oh, he's up against the ice right now.
Really, yeah? Hold me quick. Get up quick. Oh, yes! Sir. All right.
How do you like that, Matt?
The winter of 1996 has been very unkind to Michigan's whitetail deer herd. This videotape was taken by Gary Kumola and Don Scott from Ontonagon, the westernmost county in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and the county where whitetail deer are being devastated by deep snow, driving winds, and cold temperatures, all of which make it difficult and sometimes impossible for the deer to find food. Many locals belong to UP Whitetails, an organization that's been spending about $80 a day on feed to try to save some of these deer that come running when they hear the feed truck. Now, not all winter feeding programs will work, but the Western UP sportsmen feel they have to try.
It just goes to show you how hungry they are. They have absolutely no fear of humans.
No fear. Like I say, once they're in that starvation mode, they know where their meal is.
Doubleheader. Walleye are the same as many species. Where you catch one, you're likely to catch more.
Barely got him hooked, too.
Springtime is when a lot of big walleye will be caught. But for me, the antidote for spring fever is about a 17-inch walleye, fried. Ah, that's perfect. But remember, we're concerned about curing spring fever. That's our main mission. And just to sum it up, there are lots of ways to do it. Northern pike are good for the respiratory system. They'll get your heart pumping. But if you find fish with sharp teeth are too stressful, steelhead fishing might be your best therapy. But maybe you can't take the stress of fighting big acrobatic fish. In that case, plant your feet firmly on shore and use a sensitive float to detect the bites of bluegill or crappie. The therapeutic effect is excellent, and so is a meal of fresh panfish. Now, if your doctor recommends that you need to eat more to cure your spring fever, fried lake perch is an obvious antidote. He'll prescribe a lightweight rod, some flour and seasoning salt, and a ticket on the Captain Nichols. Or reserve a charter boat for a half day of fishing. You can catch salmon and trout and have a thoroughly enjoyable ride. Now, in the winter, the bigger deer get their choice of food first because they fight for it. When the smaller deer, the fawns born the previous spring, become malnourished, their faces get puffy like that one. They're not likely to survive. It's amazing how fawns survive in the first place, though. This home video of newborn fawns, well, they can't be more than an hour or two old, was taken by Doug Sofa from Utica. These twin fawns happen to be taking their first steps along the side of a county road at 7:30 a.m. on Memorial Day. Now, their mother stays away from them because the fawns are basically helpless at this age, but fawns are born with virtually no body odor. The mother deer doesn't want her scent near the fawns because her scent might attract predators.
Something on there?
Yep. Well, there was.
There's a walleye or something, man.
There was. No, there is. We got something. Fucking hold up. We got something. Oh, you sons of guns. Oh, it was a setup, you buggers.
What? What was it?
Oh, you buggers. Oh, you, yeah. So here we go. If you guys want to see the launching of the
It's a
rocket.
deal.
This is simulating a pike.
A big one.
Yeah. What? Wait, what, Maddie? What? Well, we could have had a strike on that all along. One afternoon, a few weeks earlier, Matt had set off the rocket as a test just to prove that it worked. It was a classic launch. The parachute dropped the rocket back to Earth so Matt could load it with another charge and wait for a pike to trip the tip up.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. You can't miss that from across the ice.
No, we can see that across the whole lake. Not too bad. It works.
It works.
Got a spot. Got the last spot right here. Pretty cool. Got holes here to put our fishing rods in and the rod holders.
Well, the reason we're using 2 swivels is because it is quite a walk down there to the parking lot, so we can take our weight off awful easy. With that bouncing around on the way down the parking lot, it really messes things up terrible. So if you can get your weight off your pole, we just use this, and then it does slide up and down your line real easy. So when the trout or whatever you're fishing for takes it, you'll be able to pull the line through there without even feeling the weight. That's the fun about fishing the pier, is you never know what you're gonna, yep, that's just what it is, though. Little tall.
So what do you think, Brett?
That's a den tree.
A den tree, so the hole up there is...
Right there. That's where the coon's at. He's right inside the tree.
So...
Doesn't look like a very big hole, but a big coon could fit in there.
So what do we do now?
Well,
Move the dog?
tell the dogs we can't get it and move on.
Okay.
This is one of our most effective methods of taking lake trout in this deep water. This is called a herring dodger, Lure Johnson herring dodger, and this is what we call a glow squid. It's made by Big John. That fish was so heavy, it was starting to tear through. Look at his top lip there.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, let me get a close-up shot of that.
Look at that, where it was starting to tear through just from the weight of the fish.
Look at
I'm just gonna pull on it just a little bit.
Oh, Matt.
That's, taking your time and good equipment.
Look at that. We have a lively walleye. This came from the Detroit River. I've been telling you folks, they catch big walleye in the Detroit River in April. Rick Foster, you brought a mama home.
I did. Today was a good day.
Yeah, he brought this all the way from the Detroit River here to Bath, the museum, and it's still alive.
Still alive.
Well,
These live walls are nice.
Yeah, we'll pick that mama up.
I'll try.
Here we go. This is a live walleye that is a massive trophy walleye. Look at that. Whoa. Open their mouth and slurp that bug. Another rainbow for the tank. The less you can handle a fish like this, the better. Sometimes they'll hold still for you to unhook them and put them in the bucket. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time out there. We had about 4 or 5 rises all together. Get this spinner out as far as I can. That was a good one.
We're not going to brag about this one, but how'd you like to caught the one that had a hold of him? He meant business, didn't he? That was a dandy. We've been catching a few like that in here, too. Right there.
There we go. Wow. Whoa, man.
He's going to get...
Oh, man. Hey. Yeah. Who is we? Who is this Michigan Sportsman Congress?
We are representatives of hunting, fishing, and trapping groups from all over the state that come together to provide knowledge and support and legislative assistance to sportsmen and women's organizations and individuals. We are strictly consumptive users of the outdoors.
Now, she being 6 months, what are you going to train her on right now? What do you work her on?
At this point, we're trying to develop her ability to mark a fall, go directly to it, and return with it. And whether or not she delivers to hand and really brings it to me is not important. And again, young dog, just learning, she may sit here and not go at all, but we'll find out. Ready? Ready? There.
These are called leaf worms. They're little, teeny, like garden worms. But the idea in the spring like this is to use worms that are small. You know, ice fishing bait is real tiny wax worms, mousies. In fact, they'd work now too.
Man, don't lose
Oh, I'm
it.
loving this to death. Oh, I'm loving this. Look, it's hooked in the lip, too. Now, this is, we don't have a net, do we? Of course not. Why would we have a net? Why in the world?
Don't you dare lose that.
Oh, it's gone. I lost it. Oh, did you see that? I have it right by the chinny chin here.
And what you do is you cast the lure out, and you got to work with a system of jerking the rod tip on slack line, bouncing slack line, and reeling in line at the same time. And what that does is it gives it an erratic retrieve under the surface. And it's I catch a lot of fish on my guide trip, sometimes up to like 70 or 80 bass in a day using this bait.
Yeah, these domestic ferrets. Well, people had no idea how many people had been moving into Michigan over the years and bringing ferrets because they're legal in virtually all the other states. So there were tens of thousands of ferrets in this state for many years that nobody knew about. And so finally it's legalized, and of course we got a hold of a couple of them from the Great Lakes Ferret Association. They're awesome.
I understand they got quite a
they are so funny.
sense of humor, a humorous animal.
A muzzleloaders group brought this relic to the fair for the first time this year, and they said they could hit a target with relatively reliable accuracy and with plenty of oomph. Now here's 1 pound of powder with a 5-pound projectile.
Okay,
watch this.
Please. Okay, fire.
When the smoke cleared, the crowd could see the can. Here's a different camera angle.
Fire.
A 5-gallon bucket of water was flattened instantaneously. Now let's look at it in super slow motion.
Fire.
Backing it up, you can see the projectile arcing towards the target, then wham.
We have had a problem. It's rather amazing to me, but there have been a number of extremist animal rights groups who stated their intention and in fact have acted on that to bother people who fish as a demonstration to their objection to sport fishing.
What Govenor Engler is referring to is the harassment of fishermen by PETA, a group that calls themselves the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They have declared war on fishermen, not by protesting at fish markets or at seafood restaurants. Their campaign is directed at the men, women, and kids who fish for fun and eat what they catch. Now, their plan calls for interference and harassment of fishermen, which Govenor Engler and the state legislature says will not be happening in our state.
This legislation, when I sign it, means effective July 1 that anybody fishing in the Great Lakes state will have lawful recourse against people who would prevent them from enjoying their sport.
But it has an actual ball here. I mean, this could hurt somebody.
This could kill somebody, yes, if you were foolish enough to stand in front of it. You have to use caution on the small stuff like that because they do look like toys, but they're not.
And even though this swivels, when it kicks, I assume it'll move, or?
Well, it depends. If you lay it right down flat, it may kick back, but mortars were generally pointed up in the air, and it shouldn't kick too bad with it.
Okay, well, let's set it down here. Wherever you feel comfortable, you can say, oh, we have the
Yeah, we stand
stick.
back when we light them.
Okay. Is John in a good enough position here with the camera?
Yeah, you'll be
far enough
safe
away?
there.
Okay, here we go. Whoa! Did you jump, John?
Well, I gotta.
We'll find out when we look at the tape. The Practical Sportsman versus the Great Lakes Outdoorsman. We take the Practical Sportsman first. Oh, please let me hit these. Go ahead.
I'm telling you, put your money there.
Oh, no! There's 2 misses. Now, tell me I'm not a gentleman so I don't make my guest feel tacky.
I appreciate that.
Okay, here we go. This could be a real mistake, John.
No.
I thought it would be nice to have him at the fair.
I get to tell you when?
When? You know about
Go ahead, Gary.
Hammer time.
So what?
An hour later.
It's just a game.
It's just a game.
too often, bow hunters don't get their bows out of the cases early enough to diagnose equipment problems. We recently took one of our bows out of a case and asked Tom Nelson, an expert bow hunter who sells bows for a living, how it looked.
It's shootable, but I wouldn't take it out bow hunting. There's several things that need to be done to this bow. First of all, when you take a bow out, you want to check it over, see what kind of condition it's in, make sure it's safe to shoot. First thing I'd look at is the bowstring. In this case, it's in pretty good shape. Could use a little wax. These bowstrings will dry out over time, and they'll fray a little bit, they'll turn off color, they'll get white, and then they'll start breaking down. Strings, actual strands on the string will break apart, will come apart, and that can be dangerous. On these new synthetic fast flight strings, they don't give you any warning oftentimes, they'll just break.
Now this is interesting because the sight of the smoke is actually working very well. The buck is attracted to it and distracted by it at the same time. But now he gets a snoot full of fresh scrape. That's how a normal scent product works. It stops the deer for a moment, and while it checks out the smell, the hunter has his opportunity. Then the deer moves on wherever it was going. It's often been said that a deer will circle around something that attracts its attention to get downwind so it can smell what it's curious about. But how wide of a circle does a deer make? Well, in this case, the buck appeared to walk directly towards the smoke until it got fairly close. Then it walked past in a small arc, circling to get downwind at a fair distance from the source of the smoke.
How come no one has come up and been forward and told the truth about the commercial that you've all run, showing the bear running up to the tree? How did that cameraman know where to go stand in the woods to take that footage? If that's not a staged commercial, I'd like to know, how did he get the tree up to take the footage of the dogs jumping up at the bear?
That commercial is a composite of a couple different shots we use from a couple different angles. And I don't know specifically what you're talking about, but this campaign is about ethics. It's about the ethics of using bait and dogs. And hunters and non-hunters and everybody agree that there are problems with both of those practices.
Oh, so it's about ethics as you choose them, but to mislead the people with a composite commercial and then make the statement that this is how a hunt happens, or even better, for Malcolm Fields.
Our ads are showing a hound hunt, and that, as it occurs in Michigan.
No hound hunt ever ended in Michigan without their dogs being tied up before the bear was shot. Those dogs are too valuable, and as long as we're on the point of ethics, how come Malcolm Fields, admittedly by your own statement, the big money man in this campaign, is trying to drive out trespassers? That's where this all started. And yet he has over 600 acres of his property in the Commercial Forest Act, which by law the sportsmen are helping him pay his taxes so they can have access for hunting.
Now having good weather, no rain, lots of sunshine is great for tenting, especially when you're folding the tent up, because this is how you have to deal with breaking camp with a tent. Weather is absolutely no consequence when you're camping in a motorhome like this. The facilities, I mean, take a look at this. We do have a marine type of toilet with a lid on it, the whole bit. It has a holding tank, and also here in the shower. Yes, this is a shower. You can scrub off. You know, you can say that isn't a necessity camping, but get with a couple guys for about 3 or 4 days and tell me if a shower isn't a necessity.
Oh, okay. Now he's definitely tracking a doe. You can see his antlers there. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's going. See, there was a doe that just ran up there like about a minute ago.
Yeah, it's right in front of him. He sees her. There she goes.
Well, there's going to be a little rendezvous there. It's a 4-point. He's going to go.
Let me know when.
You ready?
Yeah.
Dumped him right there. Shoulder shot. That was perfect. Oh.
What do you have to say about this season? To all those folks out there who got spikes, who got nothing?
Works for me.
It does work. What works for you? What was your technique?
Rattling, calling, being there early.
On opening day?
Opening day.
What about you?
Luck.
Luck? You had no luck, huh? You worked for it.
I worked for it.
You worked for it. I'm sure you worked for it too, huh? Put in your hours. Well, this was it. These are the 2 biggest bucks of Big Buck Night. Hey, this was deer season 1996. I hope you enjoyed it here. I was proud to be a part of it. Hey, a round of applause for the gang, huh? This is something else. Whoa. John yelled, "Tip up," told me to run over there while he got the camera. Of course, he also got Matt and Charlie to watch. They conned me into thinking there was a fish on, so I set the hook.
Something on there?
Yep.
Ooh, son of a bitch.
Well, there was.
Maybe a walleye or something, man.
There was. No, there is. We got
Open
something.
that fucking hole up.
We got something. Oh, you sons of guns. Oh, it was a setup, you buggers.
What? What was it?
Oh, you buggers. Oh, you, yeah.
Hey, it kept you warm.
Well, it's more than you got.